You had the chance to change the situation. Would you take it?
You gotta stand up.
NWA tapped into the rebel in all of us.
I got a cold ass beat. That hardcore reality rap. So what you talking about doing? Cruising down the street in my 6'4". Hey, that was dope, eh?
So, Gary, this is a big story that you're telling us. It covers a whole lot of things. How did you went and manage crumbling it all into this 2.5-hour movie?
Just being authentic. I really wanted to make sure it felt real, and I wanted to really serve the legacy of NWA and how, you know, while it was controversial, it inspired people as well. Like, I'm a big fan, and they inspired me. I think part of the reason why I'm successful is for artists that get out there and they're not afraid to be themselves. And I think NWA was, you know, a big part of that as well.
So is NWA really the main thing about the story? Because there are a lot of subjects around it, social injustice, the way the police treated communities and stuff. Or is NWA just a segue to go and touch all those things?
It's a lot of things. This movie actually is much bigger than NWA and bigger than the music, and we knew that going into it. We knew that it would touch on a few subjects that are relevant to their story, and we had no idea that all of the things in this movie would kind of intersect with what's happening right now, but we just wanted to keep it real, and we did, and it unfortunately in some cases is relevant, and in a lot of ways, in a lot of good ways, some of the themes are great as well, universal, you know?
Yeah. So, well, 20 years ago, you went and did Friday. When did you really start thinking about doing this movie? Because back in the day, you were already working with Ice and some of these guys. So when did this really start happening?
I didn't, you know, I didn't think or dream of doing this movie, honestly, until I received the script. You know, it's a tough story to tell. It's not kind of one of those obvious no-brainers where you say, okay, well, you know, when I kind of evolve and grow as an artist, one day I'm going to make the NWA story. It's just something that came across my desk, and I was a little afraid at first because there's so many ways you can get it wrong. And then when I read it, I was pleasantly surprised, and I had my own thoughts on how to develop it and make it my own. And then that's where it inspired me, and when I was inspired to kind of go off and do it. And I think it was 4 years in the making for me.
And what were some of those rough edges that the movie had for you?
Rough edges, you mean things that needed to be improved? Well, I mean, come on. You have guys in Jerry curl wigs in the 1980s. You know, it can come off as a comedy. You know, it's the 80s. 80s in America, you know, a lot of it's kind of funny. But I wanted to make sure it was serious. What they were talking about was fun in some instances, but was also serious. So the other pitfall that, you know, we needed to avoid was casting the right people. You could easily kind of cast popular music artists to play popular music artists, which would be weird and somewhat distracting. You could also overlook some of the depth of the times and the backdrop and get it wrong. So it took a lot of developing and, you know, years of developing actually to kind of get it right, and I think we did.
And is there another musical group that you would like to depict in the future? Is there something that you think that has like this sort of substance as NWA has?
Marvin Gaye.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye.
Where would you start?
Where? You mean what time? Where we start with Marvin Gaye as a child and just follow him all the way through to, you know, the natural conclusion we all know. But I think Marvin Gaye is probably a music artist that was relevant. His music is relevant now. His contribution as an artist is incredible. And that's probably one of the bigger goals for me.